So every Sunday when I come to church, I would not take the medication on Saturday. And I would be awake the whole day. I would be awake the whole night so that I would be able to come to church on Sunday. The side effect of the drug, so if I take the drug after service on Sunday, I would not be able to do anything on Monday. So because of the accumulation of fluid in my brain, I was struggling with other parts of my body. So the drug started giving me side effects, which they clearly stated to me, and I signed for it, which is constipation. I wouldn't go to toilet. I have to take 8 bottles of water or more every day. And because of the excess amount of fluid I was taking, my kidneys were not functioning properly. So I started retaining fluid on my legs. I became very fat. A lot of people say, oh, Christabel, you're pregnant. I wasn't pregnant, I was in pain. Praise the Lord, church. My name is Christabel. I work in the media department. So I've come to give thanks to God. It all started on the 11th of May. Papa was preaching and he said that the lad went to the reapers with his father and he had headache. And he went home and he cried to his mom, my head, and he died. Papa made a prayer that day. He said that may we not go home and meet any evil emergency, and may we not go and cry, my head, and die. So after service that day, I went home and I made my meal and I said, let me rest a bit before I eat. And all of a sudden, there was a pop on the right side of my brain. I could not understand myself anymore. My friend that was home with me, she just told me she wanted to take a nap, and not up to 5 minutes. I tried waking her up to tell her I was going through a lot of pain. She was not answering. So I knew something was wrong. I picked up the phone. I called my husband. He said I should call my friend. I called her, and she drove all the way from Apo to my house in Life Camp, and my friend had not woken up. So she rushed me to the hospital, and on getting there, they administered diclofenac, painkillers, and nothing was happening. I was still under severe pain. So they said the only option was to sedate me to sleep and try to find out what was wrong with me. They did that, and when I woke up, I was still feeling the pain. It continued like that for 3 days, and they said, no, I was already drooling on the right side of my face. I was showing sign of paralysis and stroke. So they decided to send me to a facility in town for an MRI scan. So when I got there, I was already drooling, and they said, no, this is very serious, that they would need to do the scan to know what's the next situation. They did, and they referred me to National Hospital. And on getting there, I heard my case was so serious that they needed the head neurosurgeon to attend to me. So when I got there, it was from tests to test, and they said, oh, there's a lot of pressure in your brain and you have accumulated fluid on the right side of your brain. But your body is so unstable that we cannot do anything for you, but rather we'll give you a medication and we'll treat you for like 5 months, then you'll come back, we'll place a shunt on your head and drain out the fluid to ease the pressure. So placing of the shunt is drilling into my skull and trying to drain out the fluid. They said I'll have to stop going to noisy places, gave me a list of food I'll stop eating, and said I should avoid gatherings because if I go to any place where there's noise, I can develop brain aneurysm, which is bleeding in the brain. So I went back home. I was still in pains. Then the medication they gave me, they increased it from 10 milligram to 12.5, from 12.5. They said I had to take the highest dose, which is 25 milligram of amitriptyline. The doctor said I would take the medication for the rest of my life, and even with the shunt, that if I decide to stop the medication in years to come, I would have to go through rehab because the medication they gave to me is really high dose of painkillers, which is amitriptyline. So after the first 2 weeks, when I started recovering from the partial stroke, I am someone that comes to church every Sunday. So I could not cope with doing online service, I decided that, okay, I'll have to come to church the next Sunday. And me being able to come to church, because once I take the drug, my body shuts down. And I would wake up like 6 or 8 hours later. I will not be able to move my hands or my leg. I will be on the bed for some time before I'm able to move. So I couldn't sleep without the drug. I had gone like 72 hours without sleep. So I decided that I was going to come to church the next Sunday. So every Sunday when I come to church, I would not take the medication on Saturday. And I would be awake the whole day. I would be awake the whole night so that I will be able to come to church on Sunday. The side effect of the drug, so if I take the drug after service on Sunday, I would not be able to do anything on Monday. So because of the accumulation of fluid in my brain, I was struggling with other parts of my body. So the drug started giving me side effects, which they clearly stated to me, and I signed for it, which is constipation. I wouldn't go to toilet. I have to take 8 bottles of water or more every day. And because of the excess amount of fluid I was taking, my kidneys were not functioning properly. So I started retaining fluid on my legs. I became very fat. A lot of people say, oh, Christabel, you're pregnant. I wasn't pregnant, I was in pain. I became very fat, my body, everything. When I see my period, it's going to be water, 80% of fluid, and like little amount of blood. I kept on coming to church. I thank God for my friend, Gift, Queen. They held me in prayers, my family, my husband. So on the 26th of October, I came to church. I was here, I was walking. And the lady came and she testified how she had migraine and how God healed her of the migraine. I was at the back. I said, God, I walk here. I go through pain just to be in church on Sunday. Please see me. Papa came up and he said, no, that somebody said God should see them. That this service is not for preaching, that it's for prayers because patterns are about to change. I said, okay, that was my word. I sat down on the floor at the back. I sat down on the floor. I prayed like a mad woman. I prayed because I knew that was all I know. Money could not do anything. I'm a businesswoman. I've spent money and I was not receiving any help. So after that prayer, I went home. I went to a friend's place and I forgot the medication. I said, yes, I'm going to stay here. I'm not going home and I'm not going to take that medication. So I didn't take the medication on Sunday. On Monday, I didn't take the medication. On Tuesday, on Wednesday, I didn't take the medication. So from Saturday till Wednesday, I had not slept. I would just lay on my bed at night till morning. I would pray Nsppd. I would just lie down with Nsppd, put it on repeat. And I was very weak. On Thursday, I stood up in the evening. I said, I'm going to come to church. My body was telling me, you will faint too. I came to church, I dressed up and I went to the back. As Papa came, Papa said that God has given you an answer of peace. That you'll be asking for peace, God has given you peace. Thursday was the first time, that Thursday, for the past 5 months, I slept. Without the medication, I slept. I said, okay, that's the beginning of it. So my file in the hospital, they asked me not to fast, not to go to noisy places, that if I fast, that it will trigger my brain, that if it triggers it, that the migraine can start again, since they were querying brain arthritis and part of it. So I said, okay, that I would wait till January fasting. So when the fasting came, fear wanted to grip me. I said, no, that I would fast. That as a matter of fact, I'm doing dry 6 to 6. So I did the first week. I did the second week. No headache, no water. I did the third week. I said, okay. I now met the lady that I met at Everett. I said, Ma, I've not taken the medication. She said, how many days? I said, for 3 months. She said, no, that's not possible. I said, okay, that I would go to confirm. So I now met the doctor. They said, why did I stop the medication? They told me not to stop the medication so that they'll know if my brain will be stable enough for them to do the shunt for me. I said, I did not just stop the medication. I've stopped the medication for 3 months. The doctor said that it's not possible for me to stop the medication without rehab. And I said, I have. So he said, if I can do without it, that means I'm fine, I'm okay. That he confirmed that I was okay and I don't need the medication again. So when I was using that medication, I had swollen legs, my neck was black, I was having insulin resistance. Everything has gone. This is the medication that they gave me that was supposed to take me for the first 5 months before the surgery, but I have stopped it. Anybody that knows amitriptyline 25 milligram knows that it's a really high dose. If I take it, I knock off like, even if the house is burning, I'm not aware. But no more fluid in the brain, no more migraine, no more pressure, no more pain. I urinate. The sweet part of it is I never knew going to toilet was a blessing. I go to toilet with ease because my period is normal. Throughout that time, if I go to toilet, I will bleed. I spend 1 hour in the toilet. I cry to be able to stool. Every day I bleed going to toilet. But all of it has been reversed. No surgery, no medication. I am fine. I have come to return all the glory to God. Because during that time, I kept on hearing voices, Christabel, you will die. Christabel, you will die. I would tell my husband that even if I would die, I don't want to die a sad death. But God, the El-roi, as Papa declared on the 1st of January, he saw me, he healed me, and I'm here to say thank you, Jesus. What God cannot do,